Our guest today is a true master of transformation, and he's one of the most interesting men on planet Earth with no exaggeration. Picture this, he shed about 70 pounds, he got skinny, he went from a kid who did terrible in school to someone who aced everything, even courses like probability and calculus in the University of Toronto. Then he went from a total nerd to the coolest kid in the clubs. But at the end, he faced the deepest and darkest depths of addiction and overcame it, choosing the path of strength and resilience. Then he got so jacked that he could win a bodybuilding show. And if that's not jaw-dropping enough, he quit everything and he became a vegan athlete. If this intro wasn't enough for you guys to actually consider listening to this entire podcast, then I don't know what will. Ladies and gentlemen, it is truly an honor to interview my first guest and my husband, Alie Shabani. Welcome to my podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
really
you.
happy.
This is my first podcast, so be patient
Mine
with me.
too. Probably my first video as well.
Yeah,
But
you've never been in front of the camera.
Yeah, I've never been, in front of the camera, maybe at our wedding, probably like the only time. So I'm a little nervous, but I told you that I'm not going to try to treat you like a professional because you are a professional, but I'm going to try to be a professional.
That's awesome. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. So let's get right into it because my channel is all about ADHD and weight loss. We're going to focus on your bodybuilding transformation.
Sounds great. I'm really excited.
Me too. Let's get into it. So the first question I have is that how did you get interested in bodybuilding specifically?
Yeah, I'm really glad we are doing this before answering that question because I realized I never really went back to visit the memories and kind of think about how this journey kind of unfolded. So I'm really glad we're doing this. It made me kind of go back and think about, my childhood and everything. So about me becoming interested in bodybuilding for the first time. So basically, when I was really young, I was a very active kid. I really liked playing with other kids. I really liked rollerblading. I liked playing soccer, playing basketball, playing hide and seek with my friends. I was basically always outside. Like I was never home. I loved playing with my friends. And I remember I would even come back home at nighttime and then my mom would make dinner and I would take that dinner and go outside and sit somewhere with my friends as like a 6-year-old and eat with them. And then she would keep yelling that I need to come upstairs and go to bed. And I just love being active. I wanted to learn how to ride a bike. And then when I was 8 years old, turning 9, that's when I really started, learning how to ride a bike. Even though I was good at rollerblading, for some reason I was struggling with it, like the balance, it was kind of to be honest, a scary experience for me. But I learned how to ride when I was an amateur. And then one day, my mom took me to the street to practice. And then it was a very normal day. We were both happy because at that point, I knew how to ride a bike, kind of. So I enjoyed the activity. And then next thing you know, I basically, as I was trying to get off the bike, I kind of lost control of the bike. And it's kind of hard to describe how it exactly happened. But then I broke my left leg pretty badly. And I remember it was really intense because I never experienced a pain like that. I screamed and I fell on the ground and then my legs started feeling really funny. But what happened after was I couldn't walk for basically a year. I was on a wheelchair for like 6 months. And after that, what I noticed was I was really looking forward to walk again. Because as I said, I was an active kid and I was so jealous. My friends were playing all the time. I couldn't join them. And even though they were supportive, they would come knock on my door and sometimes, do something that didn't require, me getting up, like playing a board game or something. I was still very jealous that they could, just all go on their bikes and, play soccer. So I was really looking forward to it. And then finally went to the doctor after about 9 months to take off the cast. And I realized my leg was just completely different. Because before this incident, I was a I was using my left leg. I was a left-legged person.
Oh, okay.
Because I remember, like, when I was playing soccer, I would always shoot with my left leg, and that was my strongest leg. But after the doctor opened up the cast, I basically felt like nothing, like, in my left leg. Like, I couldn't put any pressure on it. Like, and the doctor said that's like pretty normal because you haven't used this leg for so long. So you just got to keep walking
To get used to it.
and then and to be honest, like, keep the long story short, my left leg never felt the same. To a point, very quickly, I realized playing soccer that I have to switch to my right leg. Now I can't really use my left leg to shoot, and it's not my main, like, primary kind of leg. So I had to switch to my
That's a big
right
change.
leg.
Yeah.
And again, I realized after that is I wasn't as, like, playing soccer, I wasn't as good as I used to be. And everything felt like a struggle physically. Like doing a physical activity didn't come easy to me.
Especially for
You
you,
know,
that
like
you
a-
were a very active kid.
Yeah, and
Must have been hard.
I was very active, and this was kind of bothering me. But then, without me even really thinking about it at the time, very slowly this started changing me. And I remember at the time, like, kind of computer games and video games were starting to get really popular. There was no PlayStation at the time. There were
How long ago is this?
this is when I was about 9 years old.
9 years old.
So this is like
21
a good
years.
20, like, 4 years ago.
24 years ago.
So there was this, like, 1-2 year period where, like, I wasn't really going out to play with other kids. I was playing a lot of video games. Yeah, I had a few friends that, we would get together every few weeks. So I started gaining a lot of weight because just staying home, eating snacks, playing video games. For people who play a lot of video games, they know they go hand in hand. So that's what I started doing. I started just playing video games all the time, like, indulging in snacks, as much as my mom allowed me. And as a kid, I hated eating, like, healthy foods, especially, like, meats. I didn't like eating steaks, chicken. I like eating ground beef or, like, burgers, but I was just basically like a typical, like, young kid turning into a teenager, and I just wanted to eat snacks, and I didn't want to do anything that would require discipline.
I feel like at that age, during that time, was when snacks were really popular. Fast food was coming up. So it was, all of us were kind of into
It
it.
was that era for sure, that all these things were getting really popular, like video games, all these candies and chocolates and, like, ice creams, and
I remember.
it was a very interesting
Yeah.
time, to say the least. And going to middle school is a little different environment because now you're a teenager, like, it's different now. Like, playing a sports is totally different. Like, you're more competitive with other kids. And especially, I grew up in Iran, so I went to an all boys school, which because
Lots
of
of testosterone.
because of whole, like, religious reasons, that's how our schools are structured in the country. We have boys schools and girls schools. So I went to a boys school, and naturally I wanted to be active again and play soccer, and I wanted to be good, and I wanted to just be popular again, like, just like any other kid at school. To be honest, that wasn't happening because I wasn't good at playing soccer, and in Iran, being good at playing soccer is a big deal. Like, if you know how to play soccer, being popular comes easy. Like,
That's very true.
all the kids love to hang out with you because they want to be on your team, essentially. So that wasn't happening for me, and I realized not only I'm not good at this anymore, I'm literally one of the worst kids. And it really bothered me because I knew inside that I knew how to play. It's just I felt very off balance. I could not use my right leg like the way I was using my left leg to play soccer.
Were you aware of that at that during?
I was, but the interesting thing, I don't know why. For some reason, I never really talked about. I didn't really let it bother me because I had a lot of pride. So I would always just brush it off, like, okay, like I'll just find something else to do. I remember in middle school, like we had a buffet and they would sell like extremely unhealthy stuff there. Like not only snacks, just a lot of fried food, fries and like hot dogs and things. So my favorite activity became to basically eat things like that, then going back to like my place with one of my friends, so we play video games or we would perform pranks. So I started getting really interested in things that didn't require me to be, very physically active. And I found a lot of enjoyment in indulging in, eating pleasurable foods. Especially at school, my mom wasn't watching me and she would never know, if I just ate something there or I shared a snack with a friend. So like that gave me a chance being in middle school to indulge in all these things.
Did that help you get any, like, find any friends that did that with you, or did you do that by yourself alone?
To be honest, I feel like, yeah, other kids naturally were also interested in doing things like that, but I was a lot more interested. Now that I look back, like, like that it makes sense that I kind of got into like, I got addicted to certain things kind of growing up, because to me, like eating stuff like that, it was a big deal. Like I just took so much pleasure out of it. Whereas other kids, like they enjoyed it too, but they wanted to have a snack and then just go play. But for me, it was a big deal. Like I was really looking forward to going back home with one of my friends, and then we would play video games, and then maybe we would ask my mom to let us order pizza. Like that meant so much to me. Like it was just my whole motivation to basically do that.
So you like planning that?
And so that's what I didn't really think about the physical part because that was my life at the time and I was a kid, so I didn't really think about it. But I remember like every year, even though I wasn't eating a lot, like even the snacks, there's just so much you can eat. It's not like I was just like eating like 20 bars of candy or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember I was gaining basically like 20 to 25 pounds per year, just for no reason. Like every once in a while I would go on the scale and I was 20 pounds heavier. Like it was very scary. It was concerning. It didn't make sense to me because I wasn't, as I said, eating much, like in terms of like the volume of, because I didn't like eating lunch, dinner. Like I would always try to avoid those as again, as much as my parents let me, because I wanted to just eat snacks. I didn't want to sit down and eat rice and like beef, or like I didn't eat stuff like this.
So what you're saying is that your main source of nutrition were mostly fast food and...
Yeah, probably, like, because for me to eat a healthy meal, like it took a lot, and I only did it to basically make my mom happy. So if I knew that she didn't care, or she was happy that day, or she wasn't around, there was no way I was gonna eat like a proper like meal.
And she's shared with me how much she's put effort into like
And
making the food
yeah,
taste
honestly,
so good.
she put a lot of effort for me to start eating proper food. Like
Yeah.
she would try different recipes, like, but I was just, as I said, like to me, like eating junk food was the only fun part of my life.
That makes sense.
So by the time so this is middle school. This is basically first year of middle school, this whole thing started. So by the end of middle school, after 2-3 years, I was basically close to 200 pounds. And I was a young kid. I haven't been on this scale for so long now, after COVID. I don't imagine I'm heavier than 180 pounds right now. So you can imagine like a much shorter kid.
Yeah, 200 pounds is a
200
lot.
pounds.
I'll definitely try to post some pictures and the video. If you guys are watching this, you could definitely check the pictures out.
And I felt, and not only the weight, as I said, because I was already off balance because I broke my leg. I didn't, because some kids are overweight, but they can still play, like they can still be active, you know, that wasn't the case for me. This obviously bothered me. Like I hated everything about myself. I didn't like the way I looked like at all. And it wasn't really just the physical part. Like I just didn't like myself. Like I hated going in front of the mirror, like even my face, like it wasn't just my body. All the other kids were kind of like becoming more athletic. They're kind of like, because at that time, like kids kind of go through puberty and they were like getting more and more active and like, and I felt like, okay, that's not for me.
Yeah, and this is so interesting you mentioned that, because nowadays a lot of people on social media, they talk about, oh, how social media and all of these magazines are affecting how they view themselves, and the media is making them feel bad about yourself. But you growing up in Iran, we didn't have media like that. We didn't have any social media. We didn't have any.
Yeah, we had nothing. Basically, there was
we
no
didn't have any people.
information, and um, I didn't know about, you know, like I knew about bodybuilding, but it wasn't like I didn't know anyone who did it.
So that goes to show. So that goes to show that being overweight is just an unhealthy feeling that you don't like about yourself. Would you say that it doesn't really matter an image that you're chasing? You know, you didn't know about bodybuilding, but you still felt like you needed to change.
Yeah, for sure. No, I knew that I have to do something because I was gaining a lot of weight every year and I didn't feel good. Like my confidence was completely gone. Clearly because I wasn't really physical, I wasn't popular at school. And just because I didn't feel good, academically, I was also doing terrible. Like I was basically like middle school, I was just dead last, you know, like in most subjects, I would literally get the lowest grade. It got to a point that I knew I'm going to be going to high school soon. And in Iran, if you want to go to like a good high school, you have to like basically write a test. And I knew like I have to do something because I didn't want my high school experience to be my middle school experience. And me focusing on the academics was very important at the time, because if I didn't kind of get myself together, I couldn't go to a high school. Like no high school would accept me basically. And I was always dead last. Like I felt so embarrassed. But like my parents were really nice about it. So as soon as I started making effort to kind of, you know, study, I went from literally like the worst kid in class to the best kid in class.
This is going into high school.
This is just, yeah, right before high school. Like after just few months of me trying on my own to study without, you know, my parents telling me, like just getting up. And that really surprised me that, okay, like I literally just decided to do this. And in a span of 3 months,
Wow.
I went from the last kid. So imagine, like I fully remember, like we had like 130, 40 students in the whole year. And one semester I was literally last. Yeah. And from that, I graduated middle school. Like in my class, I became first, and in the entire school, I was top 3. So that none of the teachers believe, it didn't make sense to them. Like how can somebody they viewed as literally the worst kid can be so like different now? And that really motivated me. I feel like it kind of almost activated something in my brain, because I never knew that if you focus on something and if you really want something, like you can achieve great things just even a short span of time. At that point, I was so motivated that nobody could ever like tell me to do this, because I was just so motivated. Like I would get up 4 or 5 in the morning. I was just so excited to have new goals, you know, like I kind of grew up in a religious country, And I wanted to do everything I could do. So I wake up at 4 a.m. to pray, to study. And then, I'm like, okay, now I need to lose weight. I can't be eating. And I didn't know anything about bodybuilding. So all I knew was to eat less. So and I hated eating food. So I remember dinner time, I would always ask my mom to give me a big bowl of yogurt because that's the only thing I enjoyed. And it was like obviously healthier than eating candies.
I think I would call that mast khiyar for all the Iranians listening.
Basically, we had this
yogurt and cucumber and mint.
We had this recipe, and my mom kept saying, this is not food. You can't keep eating this for dinner. But then, that's the only thing I enjoyed eating, and I wanted to lose weight. I liked that, and I also surprisingly liked egg whites a lot. For some reason, I really enjoyed eating egg whites.
That was probably because you didn't like egg yolks.
Yeah, I hated it. Like, I would puke.
So you'll just settle for the whites.
So I just like egg whites. And I remember, basically, me just being a little more conscious on indulging eating snacks and things like that. And every time we would go to a fast food restaurant, I wouldn't get the fries. I would just get the burger. Sometimes I would tell my mom, let's share the burger. And she was always obviously happy to do that because she was happy to see me being interested in kind of changing my body.
I love hearing that because I'm an advocate of transitioning into a healthier lifestyle. And I feel like I got that from you. Living with you, because then I learned that we can't really go from having pizza and burger into having salads. It doesn't work, right?
And I wasn't trying to do that. It just happened naturally because I was so young and I didn't have any other tools. So the only thing to do was to just be a little more conscious, eat less, avoid things that are obviously unhealthy.
And do you feel like when you make that decision that you want to lose weight, it's just everything that you must do just comes to you naturally? You don't have to really...
For sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you know, let's say you're gonna eat a candy bar and then you're gonna eat 4 more. As a kid, this is wrong, and you can kind of see how it makes you feel and you see your body changing, so you shouldn't be eating that. So I started losing, weight pretty rapidly. And then I still didn't really know about the science of bodybuilding. I knew that you could, be active and it would help to kind of get into a better shape. And my dad had the sit-up machine at a home. My dad is not really athletic. He's always been healthy, and he would go swimming, and he would go hiking, running. He was a very healthy person. My mom too, but he wasn't really an intense I'm gonna go work out or I'm gonna go for a run. He wasn't really that type of guy. But he had a sit-up machine. He had a pair of dumbbells, and sometimes he would wake up, his routine was he would shave, and then he would do a few bicep curls and a few sit-ups, eat breakfast, and then go to work. And I was really fascinated by that. I always wanted to kind of pick up the dumbbells, and I just really enjoyed the concept of creating tension in my muscles, squeezing my muscle. It just felt very different.
At this point, have you been introduced to the world of bodybuilding at all?
No, not at all.
You've just seen the dumbbells.
I've seen pictures of people who look like that, but I just didn't know that's a thing. That's something you can do. I'm okay, maybe these are just some superheroes who look like that.
I see.
I knew of Arnold, and I knew he was a bodybuilder, but I just didn't consider that this lifestyle was for me. Just kind of the academic part of my life, I never considered that I can get better academically if I just try harder. Same thing, bodybuilding, I never considered it. And then I remember every time I got a chance, at nighttime, I would try to do 50 sit-ups and 100. That's the only thing I knew. Like sometimes I'll be like, okay, like now I'm motivated. I'm gonna go by my bed before I watch a movie. Like I'm gonna do like 500 sit-ups, you know, but just with rest in between, of course.
Where did the motivation come from? Did you notice any change before you started doing this?
I just, yeah, because I was losing weight. And as I said, it's hard to say what the motivation was, but I basically wanted my high school experience to be totally different. And then the academic part, like me achieving a goal for the first time really motivated me. That's why I feel like it's very important for people to experience that, no matter how young or how old they are. That way they're gonna gain some momentum. Because if you feel like you've never achieved a big goal, you know, you don't even know like whether that's gonna be a rewarding experience.
You don't consider yourself worthy or capable.
Yeah, you for all you know, you might fail. So that really motivated me because I always believed I was the dumbest kid at school. Like I had zero interest in paying attention.
So you were doing sit-ups at home.
I was doing sit-ups and then I would just try to do some bicep curls. You know, I didn't know any exercise. You know, those are the only things my dad knew. He taught me how to do them, like how to do sit-ups. And he basically taught me how to do bicep curls. But
He knows a lot more now.
But the funny thing is he somehow, I don't know if somebody told him, he didn't know about bodybuilding, but he knew that if you're gonna do a bicep curl, like you gotta squeeze your muscle. You can't just keep lifting. And I was just so, for some reason, fascinated by that. That you need to do that. You can't just go through the motion. You need to squeeze. And I remember like I loved like just pose, like not posing because I didn't know how to pose, but just creating tension in
feeling
my muscle.
that,
I loved
yeah,
doing that.
Yeah.
And then and my uncles, I was really close with them because they were really young. My youngest uncle was only like 6-7 years older than me, so he's kind of like my cousin. And I had 3, and then the older one was 10 years older than me. They were kind of like not too older than me. And my middle uncle started bodybuilding. He was a very tall guy and he had great genetics. So he just went to the gym. After 2 months, he just transformed. Like he looked like a bodybuilder, you know, like, and I was very fascinated by that like I was almost so like proud of him for looking like that. I really enjoyed it. And like every time I would, like they would buy a book, you know, I would be so interested in it, you know, just going through asking him like, who are these people?
So are you referring to bodybuilding books?
Yeah, the bodybuilding books. It's funny, like I still have that. I don't have it here.
I've seen it.
I have it, yeah, back home. It's basically one of the oldest books in bodybuilding. It has a picture of Arnold, obviously, on the cover. Yeah, I would love to show you guys that book and what it had. It is such a nice old school book.
So at this point, have you lost the weight, or are you working towards weight loss still, or you're skinny now and you trying to do bodybuilding?
So at this time, I lost a lot of weight for sure. To a point, it was very surprising to like, especially other people, because I wasn't really talking about it. Like the only thing I was doing, I was just eating consciously. Like if anyone offered me any snacks, I would say I would never have it. Like literally from that day, I didn't have anything for years. Like not even once. Like I was so religious about it. If anyone offered in like candy, no. Like my answer was always no. And I still hated eating like proper food, but it didn't matter to me. Like I would just either not eat or just eat yogurt, eat egg whites. You know, I just like eating those type of things wasn't an option for me. So I lost weight, but I still hated the way I looked. Yeah, I just felt like there's something wrong. Like my body doesn't look like some other kids. Like I still look so like fluffy. I look so soft, and you know, I'm not like, I don't have that manly type of body.
Did you have any loose skin? Because as a
Not
kid, I don't
necessarily.
think.
Like I had some I don't know what you call them, like stretch marks. I had some of that, like on my sides, like my love handles, because I gained a lot of weight in like couple of years, so I had a lot of stretch marks there. But no loose skin. The first three uncles that I talked about, they were my mom's brothers. But I had another uncle that was my dad's brother, and he was really into bodybuilding, and he would always go to the gym, and I really looked up to him. You know, he always looked good. You know, his body looked good. Like every like uh, every like few months he had a new girlfriend. You know, he always had nice cars. You know, like as a young kid, I always like really like, you know, like kind of looked up to him. I enjoyed his style. So I kept telling my dad that like I would love to go to his gym one day, and if he would take me, you know, so we would basically go there to swim and things like this. It was such an intimidating place for me because at that time, like physically, I wasn't really active, and I knew for sure I wasn't capable. So those things kind of looked, you know, intimidating to me.
It's interesting you say that because you're saying you lost most of your weight at this point, and you did that all just by controlling your food
For sure.
and not much
And
exercising.
I'm really glad that it just that's the way it happened. Because to be honest, for the people that are watching and they're trying to basically change their bodies, if you have never successfully dieted and now you start bodybuilding or, you know, playing some sort of a sport, it's really gonna complicate your life. Because now you're gonna bring this new activity in, it's gonna change the way your appetite, you know, kind of regulates throughout the day, and it's kind of really complicated unless you're a type of person who's gonna listen to the instructions. Okay, I'm gonna eat this and I'm gonna do that, like work out, and that's it. But if you want to experiment on your own, it'll be a very tough journey. So at that time, all I knew was just eating less and less and less and avoiding more and more of the bad stuff to best of my knowledge. And then the bodybuilding, like kids at my age weren't really bodybuilding. So my dad was also kind of hesitant to allow me to kind of lift weights, and, you know, and then I really kept telling him that I want to, and I want to like start bodybuilding. And then he would be like, it's probably early for you. We need to talk to trainers.
Lots of
And then
misconception
and
during
then
that
he would
time.
try to find me a good trainer. Some of them wouldn't take me because they were like, he's too young to be lifting like this. I'm sure now it's different. Like a kid going to high school, like that's definitely not early to be going to the gym, and a lot of kids do. And then my dad didn't trust some of the trainers, you know, so but I was still very interested in just becoming more active and just losing more and more weight. I remember sometimes in our living room, I would just start running for a few hours, like around the dining table. I'm like, I'm just gonna run for 3 hours around this.
I kind of relate to that because for me, when I was trying to lose weight, I would use any opportunity that I could get to do some
do something.
cardio.
Yeah, because it feels good. It feels good to like take a step towards your goal.
Once you're so focused on that goal.
And as I said, once you get a taste of achieving something, you naturally want to kind of get that again.
So were you able to hire a trainer at some point, or did you just start working out on your own?
Eventually, we found a trainer. A new gym opened up by our place, like kind of a small gym. My dad really enjoyed that. I was getting more athletic. I would go to swimming with him. I guess he kind of enjoyed bonding with me through this as well.
That's awesome.
So he took me to the gym, and then he signed up himself because that's the only way he could feel like safe sending me. It just wasn't an environment where he wanted to send me alone.
Yes, and you were so
It was
young.
just such a small gym, and they were all men. Like, I don't know. He just didn't feel comfortable, and he enjoyed running on the treadmill and stuff himself. And then he's like, okay, we both gonna sign up, and we both gonna come here and go on the tread. He taught me how to use the treadmill. He taught me how to use the bike. you know, how to breathe on the treadmill, basically, like through my nose, and, you know, how to control my breathing. And I was losing more and more and more weight. Like, at this point, I looked completely different. Like, I didn't look overweight. Yeah, I was like a little chubby, definitely by today's standards, but I was like a normal kid. Because middle school, like, I was looking like obese almost. 'Cause as I said, I was 200 pounds as like a 11-year-old kid. That's a lot. This gym had a trainer, I remember, and I was really fast. I was fascinated by the way this guy looked like. Like, he had long hair, like, he had massive arms, and he was basically the king of the gym. So I was just so fascinated by him, and I kept telling my dad, I'm like, you gotta like hire this guy, you know, I want to train. And my dad kept saying no. He's like, I don't, because he was like such a cool looking young guy. I guess my dad didn't trust him. For all he knew, he could have been a bad influence on me.
For sure.
You know, and then me being me, I insisted so much. I'm like, you can't teach me, and you don't let me train on my own. So you gotta hire this guy for me, you know, like. And then they had a lot of different packages. Like, he didn't hire him as a private trainer for me, but there was this other thing where like you'd pay a smaller amount, and the guy would just show you like few basic exercises, and he'll give you a diet plan, stuff like that, you know, like. Then maybe he would suggest like taking the supplement, this, that. So I started with that guy, and he taught me how to use basically basic, like just machines, bodybuilding, how to do a pull down, how to do like a back row, like how to do a bench press, and just basic, like
Basic exercises.
fundamental, basically exercises. And what I noticed, like physically, I was terrible because even though I was losing weight, like everything was so hard. Like, even after all this time, I was still behind of most kids. And that didn't make sense to me. Yeah, like I was better than, let's say, really overweight kids, but I wasn't even close to the kids that were good at soccer and, you know, playing sports. And this really bothered me because I know how motivated I was, and I was a lot more disciplined than them.
So you're saying compared to their body or compared to other kids at the gym?
Well, there weren't a lot of kids at the gym.
That's
they
what
were
I was.
older. I was the youngest kid by a big margin. To a point, everyone knew me, everyone loved me, because there was no one at that age.
Yeah.
Like, I was, like, imagine 13 years old at the time, and then the next youngest person probably would have been like 18, 19. I wasn't good, but for some reason, performing something with good form just came really easy to me. And I enjoyed it. Like, I would just literally close my eyes and I would just try to do it perfectly, because that's the only thing I could do. Like,
Mind muscle connection.
my muscle connection. I really I didn't know why, but I just enjoyed it. And they all, like, the trainers also kept mentioning that for some reason I have great form, and that really motivated me because I really wanted their approval. I wanted them to kind of give me compliments. So I really enjoyed doing, and at that time I loved it. Like, I loved like bodybuilding, and I knew what it promised to basically transform me into that body, like that jacked physique.
Were you also eating differently at this point?
And then the guy gave me a diet, but the problem was, as I said, I hated eating animal protein. Well, I'm vegan now, but it had nothing to do with like that at the time. I was used to eating candies and like snacks so much, I couldn't eat a proper meal. That was the reason. If I ate chicken, I would puke right away. Like, that's how much, if I smelled it, I would puke.
So what diet did this guy give you?
So he told me, he's like, this is the diet, but I couldn't really follow it.
What diet was that?
Basically, like, I can't remember, like a basic bodybuilding, like
chicken and broccoli.
Some eggs, toast, slice of toast, some rice, chicken, rice, ground beef. Just like a typical bodybuilding diet. I didn't even look at it because I'm like, I don't eat chicken. It's like it was impossible. Like, the thought of it like made me so nervous. I just didn't even consider it. As I said, I couldn't even look at it, yet alone to approach it, smell it, and then put it in my mouth. Impossible. that time I definitely looked like a normal kid. Like I wasn't overweight, but I didn't look like I work out or something. And I was a completely different kid, like because all kids were so young, nobody even knew about the concept of discipline. But my whole life at that time was, I want to get up at 4 to study more. I don't want to eat. I'm going to this like family gathering. I'm not going to eat any of that. I'm not going to eat any of the sweets. And I just enjoyed the reaction I got from people. How like they could not convince me to eat even one. And I'm telling you, like, it's crazy me thinking about it now, because now I indulge in things like on a weekly basis, not regularly. Like, but if I go to a gathering, they offer me a slice of cake, I'll eat it. You know, because I'm not trying to lose weight. But at the time, like for years, I didn't. Like literally for a good 5 years, I don't think I even had like a small candy.
I remember initially when we met also, you never had anything like that. You
it
always
just-
had
it
your
wasn't
meal.
an option for me.
You always had your food on you, and you always ate clean at home. I never saw you get a burger.
If we went to a fast food restaurant with a friend, I would basically just eat the patty.
Oh yeah,
I
or
wouldn't
get
eat
a
the
salad.
bread, or like I would get a salad if they offered a salad. My friends always hated it because, for those of you remember, if you went to McDonald's back in the day and you ordered a salad, for some reason it would take the longest. They would order the Big Mac, it would be ready in like 5 minutes. The salad would take 15 minutes. And I'll be like, what did you?
Because they had to wait for you.
Yeah. But for some reason, as I said, I didn't look like I was working out. And it bothered me how like some kids looked significantly better than me, even though they knew nothing about being disciplined. They would eat fast food. They never went to the gym, you know. And it just bothered me that, okay, like I want this so bad. Like I want to be the best, you know, like my body, my academics, but it wasn't happening.
You couldn't figure it out.
I wanted to have like a manly physique. But I still look like a kid.
I see.
You know what I mean? I had a fluffy
I
type
see.
of...
Maybe it was just your age that you just wanted to just grow up really fast and get muscles.
For sure, absolutely. No, I wanted to grow a beard. You're really fascinated by going out and like soon talking to other girls, and like because you want to look like a man. In our culture, if you were 13 years old, you weren't talking to other girls. That wasn't like something I was necessarily thinking about, but I knew I had to do something about it just for the future. And finally, one thing that really helped, like I remember that trainer that was training me at the gym left. They brought another trainer. This guy was a professional bodybuilder, like IFBB pro, like.
He had a title.
And I couldn't believe how it looked like. Like he had like veins everywhere, muscles pop. Like he would take off his clothes, and to me looked like an alien. I couldn't believe how this guy looked like that.
I'd never seen anything like that before.
And I was just so fast, and for some reason he really liked me. He liked how I was so young, and like he would always ask me to show older people like how to perform something properly.
Oh, that must have
And that gave me
motivated
a
you.
lot of confidence. The way he basically put it to me, you have to eat this. Like you have to start eating chicken, beef, like protein, like a proper bodybuilding diet. That's the only way, right? Because chicken was never like, I never had it. Like I would have ground beef sometimes, like in a burger, because it wasn't really meaty. So I remember she made me like the crispiest chicken, you know, like it was basically just fried because she wanted me to be able to tolerate the taste. She put it in like a baguette. Like she made like the most delicious sandwich. She added so much mayo. At this point, this sandwich is extremely unhealthy. But the goal is for me to put this chicken into my body, like somehow. I remember like she put so much effort to like make the most delicious sandwich. And as I was eating this sandwich, I never forget, like every bite I would think about puking. Just the texture of this. I have to chew this thing in my mouth. I finished the sandwich. Literally, my eyes were watery. Like I tried to stop the puke so bad, like my eyes were red.
That's insane.
I couldn't eat it.
That's actually insane.
And I was very happy. I'm like, wow, I did it. But even that, I never thought I could do that. Because I couldn't look at it, as I'm telling you, yet alone to eat it.
So for this is what we talked. This is how you transition into eating differently. Were you taking any supplements at the time?
First trainer, I told him, like, I'm not gonna eat chicken, and it's not an option for me. So he's like, okay, so you need to take some sort of supplement, and he would sell these protein powders, and he would take orders. At the time, there was no supplement shop. Like, it wasn't like that. It almost felt like you're gonna take a drug. And I told my dad, and my dad is like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not going to buy you something like that.
It's so funny because my dad also had a problem with me taking protein powders.
Yeah, he had a bad image. I mean, they didn't know what it was. Like, why would you take a powder? You know, like, just eat whatever you're supposed to eat. Like,
yeah, and that's something I understand now as I'm older in nutrition. But back then, it would just piss me off. I'm like, this is my protein shake. I'm supposed to be having it every day. Why aren't you allowing me to have it?
Yeah, exactly. So I remember, like, the guy told me, he's like, you at least get this protein powder and just drink like a smoothie or make something like a shake or something and drink that after your workout. So I kept telling my dad. Finally took a few weeks to convince my dad, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna like talk to him myself and I'm gonna get it for you. So he got me one. He got me the smallest one too. He's like, we gotta see if it's okay, you know, like. But the funny thing, I remember even that tasted like shit, you know, like it had a strawberry flavor.
Oh, I hate those.
It just didn't. For people who remember, the protein powders 25 years ago weren't the same. Now, like a protein powder, it just tastes like an ice cream. Like, you have protein powders that have like a muffin flavor or like some sort of a pancake.
That's
like,
pretty much when I started taking
and
protein
they
powders.
taste amazing. Like, bodybuilders look forward to like drinking their shake or kind of making some sort of a snack with their protein powder because it tastes great. It has a lot of sweeteners and like flavors in it. So they taste great. So it tastes terrible. Even that I couldn't really eat. Like, I would have to like drink it. So again, like high school, as I said, as I was getting closer to that age of 15, 16, at the time, I basically transformed my physique. You know, all the kids at school knew that I was going to the gym, but I had no muscle to like show. Like, if I couldn't, like, I knew something was happening, like just looking at myself in the mirror, but it's not like anyone else was noticing it. Like, they would just notice I was just getting, you know, like thinner, you know, but not.
Are you referring to a vision you had for yourself, or are you referring to actual muscle lines that it was invisible to other people, but you could see it in the mirror?
No, that's a good question. I didn't have a vision at the time. I was just far from it. But in the mirror, like, funny, like I was standing in front of the mirror, like with the lighting. I'm like, I don't know, nobody else sees it, but I see my tricep. Like, I have a belly, but I see my abs.
It's crazy. Not only I've have experience with that, another girl that I trained was telling me the same thing, that even though she was overweight, she could see the lines. I'm like, that's it. You need to focus on that until it becomes visible to other people. And I feel like that's really, you know, people would find it in common if you're going through a weight loss journey.
Yeah. So like basically, like, so that kind of gave me hope, but I just also made me very impatient. I'm like, I want these to show, because what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm eating, I'm going to the gym, and nobody else is doing this. Not that it mattered, you know, like, but that was my mentality. I'm like, nobody else is doing this. I'm putting all this work. My own parents were intimidated by me. Like, you're a young kid, you get up at 4 a.m. and they can't tell you anything. They almost felt like they lost me. You know, this kid has his own goals, he studies. We don't know what exam he has. He diets, he goes to the, like, what are you gonna tell me? Like, you know what I mean? If anything, they always tell me to just relax, you know, just you don't have to wake up again, or it's okay. You got this grade, it's okay. That was our relationship at that time. So third year high school, I at that point I had to make a decision that the chances of me going to a university that I like, that it's like in the capital city, it's very low. So I decided to move to Canada. And I wanted to go to some sort of a boarding school or something because I wanted to move. My parents didn't want to move.
Were you working out when you came to Canada? Were you able to find a gym?
So when we first came, yes, because I had that motivate, and coming here, I was even more motivated. It was a totally different culture. I'm like, now I'm getting older. You might go to like a high school here where you're gonna be even more intimidated. You're from a different country, like. There are gonna be girls there, like it's not gonna be just in Iran where they're all boys, so like all these thoughts were on my mind. Did the same lifestyle, I would always run, like always like dieting, doing things in sync, like I didn't follow anything. One day I would just go for a run and I would eat only 5 egg whites, and then I would get sick and I would get a headache because I didn't eat enough, and then because I didn't know, I was just
you were still
doing whatever I could do. Like at that point, I would happily die. Like I wanted this so bad. If my body allowed me, I would do I would see something on TV, I would just copy it. Like I would see like some sort of a UFC fighter or something training in the sun. I would go in the sun and then I would get sick. Like, okay, you're not supposed to work out in the sun. I'm like, because I was just a kid. Trying to copy everyone. So I was doing that again in Canada, kind of following the same thing. Luckily, like the only boarding school around at the time was like a boys' school. So I wasn't gonna get exposed to like girls and stuff. So I wasn't too nervous about that necessarily. I wasn't happy about it, but it just made me feel safe. So I went there, but it was the first time in Canada. Like I don't speak English. My parents are not there anymore. I'm at boarding school. Some of these kids, they played hockey. They would work out. Like they were so intimidating to me because in Iran we didn't have that. I remember we had a gym for boarders, like where you could go like till 10 p.m. and work out. So the first time I went there, I was so nervous. I'm like, I'm gonna go to the gym here in Canada for the first time. I can't even talk to any of these kids. And I see these kids squatting like 2-3 plates, doing drop sets, doing lunges. I'm like, what the hell are these kids doing? And they look great. Like they all work out and they get up early and they come out of the shower and like they have like their chest is popping and like my vibe is like, when should I shower so nobody sees me, like,
oh my god.
So I had to like time all. I was so insecure. Like I'm like, okay, like you need to get up early or just kind of come back to the boarding school during lunchtime, take a shower so nobody can see you, like, which is a wrap towel. I was just so insecure about my body, especially I was putting all this work, and as I said, I wasn't looking like hard. Like my body wasn't hard, like a manly looking physique. It was just like a kid, like a kid's physique. So again, there I was motivated, but then like I had like a lot of academic stuff on my mind. I came to Canada to go to a good university. So I had all of that. Same life, getting up early, study. I was so motivated. I wanted to like get into like MIT or like Berkeley or something like that.
I know, especially coming from Iran, that's a big goal for all of us. Deal.
Like if I could just study and become like the best kid at school from like in just a few months, I can probably just study my way to, Berkeley or MIT. And not to sound arrogant or cocky, I really think I could. But the problem was I didn't have enough time to transition. Like I came to a new country, I had to learn a new language. I had all these things going on. And I just had 2 years basically here in high school to be able to get into one of those schools.
I don't think people realize that live here and they haven't immigrated to another country, how much pressure that is to find friends, do a whole new social
especially if a young kid.
a whole new social life in a new different country, and starting from zero again and building a whole life for yourself. At the same time, you have all these goals and aspiration to go to a different university, and you had your body goals at the same time. Now, can you take us to a point that you started training seriously for bodybuilding?
I was such a competitive kid also. Like I couldn't, I wanted to be like one of the best. So I had so much on my mind. At this time, you got to realize I was skinny.
I've seen your pictures, like your
And
university.
now that I look back, it was definitely an insecurity issue. Like there was nothing wrong with my body in a sense that there was anything wrong with it. But I was just very insecure. And that was a way for me to kind of, get over that insecurity.
There's a saying that they say, once a fat kid, always a...
100%. Like I'm still like that. Like I'm not insecure per se, but I feel those emotions. Like I might respond to them differently, but I feel the emotions for sure. I was getting also a bit more frustrated that I'm not looking like that. And like, so I had a lot on my mind. I remember like I found a public gym. I would go and I would literally run like until I fucking die. Like I remember like I would go on the treadmill and the elliptical. I was young too. Like I would keep my heart rate above 180 for like the longest time. I wasn't getting the body I wanted because at that time I knew I'm like, I want to look jacked. Like I don't want to look like Arnold, but I want to look like, let's say like a men's health fitness like magazine cover look. Like I have abs, I can take off my shirt and it'll look impressive.
You wanted to have those muscles, and I feel like for you at this point you had the intensity, you had the goal, you had the vision, you were lacking some knowledge.
Yeah, probably. Would you say? And imagine at this point I put in years into this. I put in at least like 4 years of consistent like non-stop diet.
And if you think about it, most of people, like 80% of people that go to the gym, even more depending on where you're going to the gym, they are consistently going to the gym, eating properly, and they're not seeing any results.
And
so
it's hard. Like
it's very common. So you just wanted to go from an average athletic person to this very great like physique model. That was your goal and aspiration.
And
that's why you were
summer
frustrated.
Before university, it was like do or die for me. So at that public gym there was a trainer, and he kind of looked like my first trainer. He was very jacked. He was a security guard at a club downtown. I hired the trainer. Again, same thing. Even though at that time I was kind of starting to eat more chicken, like crispy stuff, like I wasn't, because it's still hard for me, I wasn't doing a bodybuilding diet. Like I eat 6 meals of portioned out, meals and stuff like that. So he told me the same thing. He's like, you gotta be eating this, like what I'm telling you, like 6 meals a day. He's like, you gotta be eating. I'm like, what are you talking about? I gotta be eating, like eat this much food? And he's like, yeah, if you want to look like that, you gotta eat like this.
So eat like what? Can you tell us like an example of the portions? So basically
like he would tell me, like, he's like, okay, because he knew I didn't like eating chicken and stuff. He's like, okay, as your breakfast, make a smoothie. I remember at that time, DSN supplement was very popular. Ronnie Coleman was, and Dexter Jackson, all these top bodybuilders were kind of modeling or advertising for them. So I got one of those, and he's like, in the morning, just add raw eggs to this, but add a spoon of peanut butter so it'll taste. He's like, trust me, like the raw eggs will taste fine. He was just trying to find a way so I can take in more protein, like as opposed to just taking the protein powder.
I see.
And he did a pretty good job. Like I remember he told me to eat oats, and me coming from Iran, I didn't know what oats were.
We don't have oats.
I'm like, what do you like? I'm like, oats. I'm like, why can't I just eat bread? Like, he's like, you can't eat bread in the morning. He's like, you gotta eat oatmeal. Me and my mom went to the grocery store to find, and my mom didn't know what it was. So we went through the cereal section, and I found the cereal box that oats. I'm like, yeah, this is it. I'm like, this is good.
This is great.
I'm like, this
love
is much better
cereals.
than bread. Like, I'm gonna eat milk to this, and I love milk. I love chocolate milk.
Little did you know.
And then so I was doing that, and then like, but I was kind of gaining weight. Like I was, because imagine I'm like eating the peanut butter, the smoothie in the morning, then the oat cereal. And my trainer was like, "What are you eating?" He's like, "Why are you like kind of getting chubby here?" And it's funny. I showed him that I was eating that cereal, and he just laughed. Like, you got all the other trainers that come to see what this kid is eating. Like, I told him to eat oatmeal. He's eating
That's
chocolate milk with oat cereal. Like, it had a lot of sugar in it. And he's like, "No, you can't be eating this." Like, he's like, "Go buy this brand." Like,
But let's be honest here. You had a lot of fun doing
for
that.
sure. No, because I'm like, I can do this. I'm like, this I can do. And because I was getting stronger, I'm like, so it's working. So it's right. Like I feel more muscular, but the composition wasn't going in the right direction.
For sure. Lots of carbs, so good
Yeah,
pumps.
just eating.
Yeah.
He cleaned up my diet. He really told me, and at this time, like, I can start watching YouTube now. Like, this is a different world now. So I'm getting a lot of information also, like just me researching, like reading things, getting bodybuilding magazines every month, So I am kind of exposed to like more proper kind of
Exactly, because coming from Iran, we don't have access to any of that. So this is how you started your bodybuilding.
Yeah,
in Canada.
this is how I realized, okay, like I can set this as a goal for myself to actually look like a bodybuilder. Because at before, all I knew was discipline, kind of mind control. But I'm like, okay, as you said, there is a knowledge to be acquired here. You need to learn how to do this properly. So I was fascinated by that. And at this time, I had a much easier time eating animal protein. I was still hesitant. Like I didn't like eating steak necessarily, but I would eat like chicken patties, turkey patties, like extra lean.
Very thin.
I would eat ground beef. I would eat like eggs, omelets, shakes, and stuff like this.
So then can you take us to a point where, did you take any, I don't know if you were comfortable sharing that, but did you take any drugs, any bodybuilding drugs?
So like at the time I was more like I would take anything because I was so tired of not getting results and not looking like that. At this point, I would do anything. Like even if they told me this will probably kill you in 5 years, I would still take it. Like
This is first year university.
This is going into university, first year university. And I knew about steroids. There was a documentary I remember at the time. I highly recommend it. It's I think Bigger, Faster, Stronger, the name. But it's a big deal back then. It kind of exposed the bodybuilding industry. A lot of people got fired. It was about steroids and just steroids in professional sports in general. And I remember I watched this. So this documentary was about kind of exposing the truth. How all these guys are telling you to take this fat burner, this hydroxycut or whatever, but in reality they're taking all these, steroids and supplements.
Yeah, we looked it up. It's called Bigger, Stronger, Faster. So
Bigger, Stronger, Faster, yeah. So when I watched this, like my jaw dropped. I remember I was so excited, I called my dad. But I couldn't tell him. Like, what am I going to tell my dad? Like, I'm going to take steroids.
wrong phone call.
But I was just so excited to call somebody. I called my dad. I'm like, listen, I figured it out. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, what do you he's like, it was just all a lie. And I was just so vague. He was like, what are you talking about? He's like, what do you mean you figured it out? I'm like, no, I was just doing it wrong. Now I'm going to get results.
Little does he know what internet
And
does.
my dad knew nothing about like steroids, like. So I knew about it, but I was young. I knew I had no way of getting it. Like, who am I gonna get it from? All I know is if anything is chemical, I'm gonna put it in my body because it will help. So there was a GNC store. I went and like I bought everything I could, creatine, pre-workout. I'm like, okay, I can't get the steroid thing they're talking about. But I remember at the time GNC had like a shelf and they were locked. And they had some of the gray market area in there. Like they had these things called pro hormones, which they're banned now. They actually ruined a lot of people's lives back then because they were basically steroids, like oral steroids, tablets. But they found a loophole in the market and they were selling those. You know, I wasn't taking that first, you know, but as soon as I got a chance to kind of, you know, like become like, because you need to be 18 or 19, I remember, to get those. So as soon as I could get them, I started getting every supplement I could get from the supplement store, like legal supplements. I got them and I started taking them. Like I would take like 4 scoops of pre-workout. I can't believe I was doing that. I remember they had like a Super Pump back then or something by Gaspari Nutrition. I think that's what it was called, Super Pump 250. The best pre-workout at the time. And I would take 4 scoops of those before, and I would go work out for hours. Like 4 hours.
I can imagine.
Listening to music and just doing everything. And I don't know how I wasn't getting jittery, like taking all.
You were so young.
I remember like one time a friend of mine had the same thing, and like he almost had to go to the hospital. Like that's how sick he felt, like being stimulated.
So you had all the supplements. So you had
all
creatine.
The fat burners. I tried a lot of fat, and then the fat burners I quickly realized I can't take because I couldn't sleep at night. Like 0 sleep.
What other supplements were you taking?
So basically, my main supplements were pre-workout. That was a must because I noticed that was making me stronger and I enjoyed it as a kid. Some sort of whey protein, the isolate proteins as soon as they came to the market. Creatine.
Yeah, you started taking.
They felt like placebo, like they didn't do anything to me.
But how about like the real steroids? When did you start taking those?
So basically, me kind of continuing working out more properly at this point, I'm definitely looking more like a bodybuilder. Like not really, but like
at least you could see some definition.
I was getting really a lot stronger, and that first trainer really helped me. I remember the first time he asked me to do like a hack squat. He knew I couldn't do a squat. I couldn't even put a 5-pound plate on it. That's how bad. And I wasn't a young kid, like, 'cause especially in Canada, there were a lot of kids, like teenagers, who would probably squat.
Fast forward to doing 8 plates.
Yeah, like the kids would squat like 2-3 plates, whatever. So I was, in that 1 year, I got much stronger. Like I could like, you know, like lift, like not that heavy, like a normal person. Like I remember I would do chest, I would do like dumbbell press, like 50-60 pounds. You know, I was doing proper like workouts, you know, leg workouts. I still wasn't looking like that.
I see.
This is me first year university. And at this time, you got to realize my motivation is like, it's never been before. Like I wake up 3 in the morning, and winter in Canada during winter time is terrible. Like winter storm, like subways closed, you walk to the library in snow to study before university, like before class starts. I would study. I'll come back home, work out, study. Like I was just extremely motivated.
How did you start taking steroids?
As I said, the body wasn't looking like that, and I had to bring this up with the trainer. I was kind of nervous about it. And I had to bring it up. I'm like, what is this? Like, you see me how motivated I am. Like, I want this physique. And you told me how, like, I'm doing it. And I understand there is a time factor, but it's not looking like I'll get there. Like, I'm not dumb. Like, I'm already 19. Like, I don't look anything close.
Especially when you're working out so much, sometimes you can blame it on not working or not doing enough.
I didn't have that.
When
Luckily,
you're doing,
I didn't have that excuse.
Yeah, when you're giving your 100% and it's not working, you're like, okay, so the trainer's not obviously telling me.
Yeah. So I told him about this because at that point I've seen the documentary. I know, like I know what's up. Like I told him about it and I was so nervous. I'm like, what is he gonna say? To my surprise, he's like, yeah, like you want it? Like I can sell it to you. And this is a trainer at a professional gym. I couldn't believe it. He told me that. And I'm like, yeah, that would be great. He's like, so you know how to like inject? I'm like, inject? No, like I don't know how to inject anything. He's like, what do you want? I'm like, I don't know what to get. I just knew some things on the internet. I looked up like Anavar, some D-ball, like just things like people who know nothing about steroids start with. I took the Anavar, I bought the Anavar from him, Anavar pills. And I started to, I could see like this is definitely does something. But very quickly I started feeling a little bit of pain in my like lower back area. And because I knew nothing about this lifestyle, I'm like, this could be my kidneys. So I was just afraid. I stopped. Like I can't get sick. If I get sick, it's over. Mm-hmm. So the pills weren't really great. And I told him, he's like, you got to learn how to inject. Like you got to take steroids like how bodybuilders do. He's like, come to my place one day after the gym. I'll show you how to inject. So I went to his place. As you can see, I was so nervous. I went to his place. This guy is a security guard. Like I'm a young kid, So I go to his place and took me to the bathroom. It wasn't more like, there's nothing. He's like, okay, like you basically do this, you inject. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm not gonna do it for you. He's like, you gotta do it here, so I know you can do it. Okay. That's how I can feel safe giving this to you. And then I'm like, okay. And like I just went for it. I'm like, yeah, this is doable. Like I wasn't afraid of it. I'm like, okay, I did it. And he told me, he's like, you got to go to Shoppers, get syringes. And imagine, like, you're still 18 years old. And at the time, going to, like, Shoppers. And I looked younger than I probably looked like I was 16. Going there was just so nervous. But, I was going to do this 100%.
It wasn't a question because once you want something to happen, even a lot of athletes or whatever goal that you have, you would do anything to get there if that vision is strong enough for you.
For sure. Yeah, you're not even thinking about it. You just want what you want.
The consequences.
You're not thinking about any consequences.
And how long did it take exactly for you to start seeing some results, doing the eating, doing the supplements?
Honestly, to be really honest with you, I took the steroids even for a few months and I was still living like that, eating whatever. I'll be honest with you, like after I started the whole bodybuilding thing, my discipline surprisingly got worse in eating. Because bodybuilding promoted eating more. And a lot of those memories from my childhood kind of got awakened. Because now, like, you're allowing me, you're telling me to eat more. So my appetite is kind of rising. So I see myself indulging in like an extra cup of chocolate milk or something. Yeah. So I wasn't that. And then so I wasn't getting results. I took the steroids. I went to the guy who sold it to me. I'm like, what's going on? Like,
it's nothing, not working.
Like nothing.
It's not working.
Like I go on the scale, I'm 8 pounds heavier, but nothing, And then he's like, no. He's like, what are you eating? He's like, you're not eating enough. Mm-hmm. I'm like, this guy is just probably just, lying to me. He sold me something fake or, But he was right. I later realized, like, he was right. I wasn't eating enough for a bodybuilding standard, like a young kid trying to add pounds of muscle. Like I wasn't eating nearly enough. So still nothing. And I kind of, at this point, I really lost a lot of motivation because I'm like, I did everything. Like I'm already university kid. Like I'm not a kid anymore. Like I've been training my whole life, took the steroids, the diet, I'm kind of gym trainer, I'm stronger, still not looking anything close.
What year are you in now?
This is like me kind of first year university still, basically.
Okay. So just like a couple months of...
So yeah, first year university, it wasn't... And then, but I remember one thing, I really don't want to get into the specific supplements because I know a lot about supplements. That's for another video. But I remember he once sold me this thing. Well, now it sounds crazy, like that like trampoline is a fame. People make a lot of memes about it. It's like the scariest bodybuilding drug and also the most effective. And then so he once sold me that. That's the only thing I took and I got results. I'm like, okay, like this is like changing me right away. Like whatever this is. He sold this, imagine, to an 18-year-old who knew nothing. You know, like right now, I don't imagine they do these things.
Isn't trend something that professional bodybuilders?
Yeah, it's like, you know, like even if I wanted to get back to professional bodybuilding now, I wouldn't take it. So let's put it that way.
It's not necessary.
No, not at all.
And I feel like the side effects are a lot worse than.
Oh yeah, the
It's not
crazy
worth it.
side effects. But I didn't know anything. When you don't know anything about the effects or the side effects, you don't care. You don't.
But as you
feel
were
anything.
taking that, you noticed a lot of changes.
A lot of
that started
changes,
working.
especially people started making comments like, even my mom like saw me a few times like, you what are you doing? Like you're getting bigger, like. And then, so I was happy. I'm like, okay, at least I found this. Something is finally doing a little bit of something. And that trainer left. He got fired from the gym, not because of that, well, he should have been, but he got fired, and then I had no way of getting steroids again. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like, where am I gonna find steroids? So I was just, my motivation went to like zero basically. And that summer, for the first time, I'm like, okay, like I don't have steroids. I knew that was the kind of like the secret sauce, so to speak. I'm like, but I'm gonna like follow everything like a pro bodybuilder. Like I'm not gonna make one mistake. I downloaded this 12-week transformation program from bodybuilding.com. At the time, I think his name is Chris. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so forgive me if I'm wrong. It's Chris Geethan. He's still very famous. Like people who know bodybuilding know him. This guy, like kind of, you know, like he was very active on bodybuilding.com. He made
The OG.
for sure. No, he was like. So he had this 12-week transformation thing. I downloaded the program, diet, everything. I told two of my friends at university one summer, I'm like doing this everything like he says, like cardio fasted, then cardio in the evening, workout, like drop sets, like crazy workouts that for me was crazy. He had these pyramid workouts where you would leg press like you would keep increasing the weights
And then decreasing it.
like non-stop stuff, like you work out till you puke type of thing, like giant sets and like stuff like that. So I did that, and I was following the diet, you know, like I just kept running, you know, fasted cardio. And even though I didn't have access to the steroids and nothing really changed, I just did everything like not 99%, 100%. And my body after like 2 months started transforming significantly. Like my composition finally changed.
Wow.
I could see the abs after all these years. And it wasn't because of the steroids, because I wasn't taking it.
Yes.
And I was so happy. I'm like, okay, like I finally have abs. Like I like to take off my t-shirt now.
Yes.
So I was so happy about that, you know, like I remember me and my friends, we went to Cuba to like a resort, and I'm like, it's so nice to be here. I can take off my t-shirt, you know, like at least it worked. And other people are complimenting me. They're like, you look like, what do you work out or whatever? Like you look jacked.
That must have felt amazing.
And it felt amazing. Like I was so motivated, you know, like I remember in Cuba, it was summertime, I would go on the beach, like even during noon, I would run, like do push-ups, like work out there. Like I was just, even there, I wasn't like indulging in bad foods. Like I was eating proper, like
Wow.
I was so into it. You know, I could never find steroids again, even though I tried really hard, because I knew like I wanted to experience what I experienced at one time. I'm like, if I add that now into my system, for sure, I'm going to start looking like a bodybuilder. Like I'm going to get bigger on top of being lean. and I'm gonna finally get that look, you know. And then I couldn't find anyone to get steroids from. Then a year, kind of 2 years passed. I kept going to the gym because I had motivation. I got results. I'm like, okay, so it's not about steroids. You just got to be 100%. And I was. But now at this time, I was motivated that I wanted to look like one of those guys in the magazine. I'm like, now I don't want to just have abs. Like, it's a weird thing. As soon as you achieve like even a 20-year goal, the moment you want something else. That's just the nature of the mind. I'm like, I'm not happy. I want to look like these guys. Like, I want to have like a big arm, like biceps. Like, I want to look like I work out, like even with a jacket on, like that. And then,
if you don't mind, we pause the podcast for a second because our dog is literally committing suicide behind the door. We never lock him out of our rooms. Okay, we're back.
And I finally found a guy that was selling, like that was his job. Like, he would sell steroids, and he was a bodybuilder, and he had a lot of knowledge on supplements and stuff like that. It took me a long time to find someone like that because I needed someone who's like the source, who has everything and knows everything. Like, this all the bro science. Like, he knows, okay, like this is this growth hormone, this is this steroid, this is this kind of like whatever that you have to take to be a professional bodybuilder. I kind of threw some names
That you've heard from
like
documentaries.
testosterone trend, and he was surprised. He's like, you really want to take those things? Like, have you done it before? And me, like, because I have kind of done it before from that trainer, I told him like, yeah, I've done it before. So I'm like, just give it to me, I'll take care of it. So I started taking those, same thing. And I'm like, okay, if I take these and work out like that summer I did, like religiously 100%, God knows what will happen. So I started doing that, like taking like a few supplements, like steroids, I mean. And then just few months, like my body started transforming like crazy. And this was very strange because I did that before and it just didn't happen. So many years I was motivated and I tried my best, didn't happen. But this time just happening.
Do you think it was just like a factor of time and universe was rewarding you for being patient?
It was a factor of time for sure. It was things coming together, me in terms of my diet, how I worked out. And as I said, being 80% is really different than being 90% than 100%. That also, like the steroids obviously played a big role in it, whether people want to believe it or not. They play a big role in you looking enhanced. You want to look like you're enhanced. It's not about being in shape. You don't need steroids to be in shape. But you want to look like a monster, for sure you need something artificial to look like a monster, to look like a superhero, if you can give it a positive term.
This is around third year university, which is pretty much when we met.
Yeah, this is where we met, because at that time, like, I'm like, okay, I did this. I wanted to do this in a year. It took me like 15 years or God knows how long. Well, not 15 years, like, probably 7, 8 years. And then I was more confident. I'm like, now I'm more interested to socialize, go out, and some kids have started doing this many years ago, but I had to wait to achieve this goal, kind of.
It's because you probably could have done it earlier and found your group, but you had a different expectations of yourself.
Expectation, and I had, obviously, and then I had like a totally different mindset. So it finally happened.
Did you feel unhealthy at this point at all, or did you just feel very healthy and athletic?
Because I was taking a lot of stimulants, like I was still taking a lot of pre-workouts and all these steroids and a lot of caffeine, I could tell like I was very anxious. Like, it's not normal, but I didn't know any other way to be. So I just went with it. And I was still like university studying engineering, like last year, like I had like the best engineering school in Canada. So it's like a lot going on my mind. I'm like just balancing all these emotions and, you know, um,
In terms of your body confidence, I feel like I remember you being very confident at that point of your life. I feel like you were confident but not content, as if you had big dreams, you wanted to achieve more. At the same time, you were very comfortable with, going to the pool without your shirt.
yeah, and I
Is that how you felt inside, or was that like a picture you were
I
portraying?
obviously wasn't still 100% confident, like comfortable in my skin. But because it took so long to achieve this, I felt very confident because I knew what I did. And I knew some people didn't have to work that hard, but my case was different. I knew if anyone looked like me early on could not do what I did, but they just wouldn't do something for 10 years. So I was very confident about it.
I feel like I can relate to that as well. Sometimes I wear stuff that, a lot of people might think, a lot of older people, now the new generation is pretty cool about wearing clothes that don't show a lot of your skin or fat. But I remember I would wear different clothing that didn't really fit me well. And I was like very confident because I lost so much weight and I was showing some muscles. Whereas like maybe somebody with my body type would judge me and be like, oh, why is she wearing that? Like that doesn't even fit her. But I was just so confident.
Sure, yeah, I was definitely the same way. Like I was sometimes wearing a tank top, probably shouldn't have been, but I just felt great, like I felt great doing it. And
But honestly, you did look very good at that point.
yeah, for my age, because things were working, and then I was just at this point because I finally achieved this goal that I had since I was a little kid. Took a decade of like constantly like giving it 100% and not achieving, and it finally worked. So at this point, I'm so confident and I've already achieved some things in my life. So I'm like, you can do anything. I'm like, now it's very important for you to choose correctly. Like, you can make a lot of money. You can go get a PhD somewhere, like even better university. You can do anything you like. You can become popular. Like, I was so excited that like I was so stimulated on top. I had a lot of anxiety. So naturally I got and going out a lot, going to the club, and you're looking like that, you kind of attract certain type of people. I got into a lot of like drugs, like recreational drugs. I'm not talking about bodybuilding. So I was living that lifestyle for a while. Bodybuilding, dieting, but also taking drugs.
And that's very common in the bodybuilding community.
Yeah, it's more common than you think. Like it kind of, a lot of bodybuilders, indulge in things like that for fun. Not all of them. Some
Not
of them
all
are
of us.
extremely professional and they're healthy. We're healthy in terms of, like they don't do drugs, they don't drink alcohol, they don't party,
They're very professionals. Yes, most of them actually, I would say. But some of them, they're like, oh, we're putting all of this.
Yeah,
If you're very comfortable,
especially the non-competing.
yeah, if you're very comfortable, like putting something in your body
Yeah,
in
of
terms of
course, yeah.
steroids, then you're also comfortable
Yeah,
with
if you're gonna
snorting
inject
something.
something to your body, like the chances of you trying to snort something, it's very high, or like you taking a drug or smoking something like.
So because I know the background, so you started partying, taking drugs, and then we want to fast forward to a point that you quit the drugs and quit the partying life, and then you started taking bodybuilding seriously again, and you wanted to kind of transform your body from someone who had lost all of your muscles, everything you worked for after going through this crazy drug addiction and overcoming that and not working out for 2 years, I would say.
Yeah, so it's just basically like the drugs caught up to me. I keep it short because this is my whole journey. Like it's gonna take a long time to go through it, so I keep it short.
We'll do another
And if
episode.
hopefully, like any of the viewers are interested, I can come in more often.
That would be amazing. We would love
we can
that.
talk about, more of the details.
You're the most interesting person I know, so we must be doing this. Again.
Yeah, I'll be happy to be here and talk about these things. So the drugs finally caught up to me, and to a point, like, can you imagine, like, you've done so much drugs, sometimes now you wake up, like, the motivation can take you so far. You need to have the right type of setting, preparation. You can't just use motivation to override everything. That's what I was doing. Like, I would be up all night doing drugs, partying, but I would still go to the gym in the morning and eat my oatmeal or whatever. But that you can do that for so long. Finally, the body starts stopping you. I stopped skipping my workouts. I started skipping my steroids shots, which people who've done steroids, they know it could have severe consequences. It's not something you can just take one day, not take one day. Like, it's not like that at all. Like, there's a lot goes into that. Like, I could probably, like, we could do 20 podcasts on different compounds of bodybuilding. So that's how I was living. So I got extremely depressed because I never went off the steroids properly. I just stopped taking them. So the hormones went down to shit. And at this time, I'm not going to the gym because my body doesn't feel like it. And knowing that I can achieve that so easily is actually making me not to go to the gym. Because I'm like, no problem. Anytime I can start again, and in 4 or 5 months, I get it done. So I'm just really interested in, doing drugs, indulging in, like, short-term pleasures, basically.
And I feel like that's the period that we started eating a lot together.
Yeah, just eating a lot of.
And that's when I put 40 to 50 pounds.
Yeah, basically. We can definitely talk about that in another video. What was our routine like? We can even go to the grocery, maybe one day we can eat like that to kind of show the audience.
To show them, like, how we used to
how
eat.
we were eating. And then, we were just indulging in all sorts of, short-term pleasures, food being one, all sorts of things. The funny thing is, I didn't lose all them. Like, I lost the muscle. Obviously, I looked like shit. I felt terrible. Like, these are some of the darkest years of my life, how bad I felt. Like, I can't even describe it. And then I got to a point, and at the time I knew, I'm like, I can't go on like this. So I would keep trying. I'm like, from tomorrow, gonna get up early, clean myself up, go to the gym, do this, do that. Because I know I have the tools. I've done it before. But I couldn't do it. Kept procrastinating. I was in that cycle of, I want to get up in the morning, eat a lot of junk food at nighttime, don't get up, procrastinate again. Like, I was just doing that for a few years, and looking more terrible, not taking care of myself, not getting a haircut, looking terrible.
I feel like that's for a lot of people to be able to relate to, although it's very hard to stay in that cycle of wanting to achieve something and not being able to. And for you, because you'd already been so close to your vision and now you weren't able to get there, it must have been like a lot more frustrating. Because I know when I was trying to lose weight, I had no idea I could build the body that I built. And, it wasn't so frustrating for me. I'm like, okay, this is just so normal. But for you, because you had that discipline, it must have been very terrifying to see, like, oh, maybe I'm not going to get there again. How is it going to work? Or were you like 100% sure that you were going to do it?
I knew I was going to do it, but I knew I wasn't going to do what I did. Because I wanted to look like a pro bodybuilder, and I never did. I got a little bit of muscle, taking some steroids and doing stuff like that, but I wanted to do this the proper way. So even though I wasn't going to the gym, and like I was still on the internet, on the forums, reading, because I was just such a nerd. I liked researching. The supplement kind of aspect of it, 2 years of non-stop researching, I would say I figured it out. Like I figured out what pro bodybuilders do and take. Like, what is the cycle? Like, everything that you can imagine, I figured it out. Like,
I remember you watching different videos from different people and putting it together and trying to figure out.
Putting it together, going on forums, like doing whatever people do, people that are into bodybuilding at the time. Now there is a lot of proper information out there.
Proper programs, cycles.
Probably can go to doctor that will help you. At the time, it wasn't like that. You know, a lot of bro science and stuff like that. So I got a lot of knowledge. So finally, we started going to the gym again. You know, gaining momentum, and we kind of. And when I started, we thought like, who knows how long that will take to get. I remember I was telling you, I'm like, listen, once I gain momentum, that's few months for me. I'll just get it back and I'll look much better than I did. And that happened like that in a few months. Again, I was eating clean. You were eating the meals. I was counting all the macros properly and like doing my best. Well, it was definitely a long transition period into eating proper again, but the motivation was there.
I remember you got jacked so quickly, and when we compared your pictures within like 7-8 months of you working out, because I remember having a video from around Christmas time, and here we've been working out for like 8 months since summertime probably, and you've transformed so much, and you looked even before better than how you started, or when I met you. And you were so motivated and excited. You felt like you were getting there.
Because I'm like, if I can look like this in a few months, because I was applying everything I knew about bodybuilding, training, eating, supplements. Now I knew a lot.
You were eating a lot too. I remember.
And I was eating more volume, like a pro bodybuilder, eating 6-7 meals a day.
Can you tell me like one of your portions? For example,
typical meal would be 8 ounces of chicken breast, 2 cups of rice, and some vegetables. This is a classic bodybuilding. And towards the end of my bodybuilding lifestyle, like I was eating like 11-12 ounces of chicken or ground beef or steak or fish.
That's 5 to 6 times a day.
And at least 6 times, more 7 times a day.
I remember sometimes you had to wake up during the night to have a shake.
And eating as much as I can. So I did that. So kept kind of improving and improving. Like, as I said, there's so much to talk about. We can't go through it in this podcast, but hopefully some viewers will enjoy this and I can come back. And
I'm pretty sure we got to cut this one in 2 episodes. So
and they can kind of revisit these things.
No, we'll do one just for the supplements, one for
and
the
this is more of a, like an intro.
Yeah.
And then, so I was looking better and better every year. And this time it's serious. Like, it's not just looking good. Like, you look a certain way, you go on the street, everyone looks at you. It's a totally different. This is me finally achieving what I wanted to achieve. I didn't want to just look okay. I wanted to look the best.
You started looking really good, as I said, like about 1 year in. But when was it that you actually felt amazing? I feel like you were at your peak when we went to LA.
Oh, that was...
Because I'm going to post some pictures.
You mean my best? Yeah, my best was right before basically COVID. Yeah. That I just stopped chasing size like that, like living the bodybuilding lifestyle. That was definitely my best.
Yeah, you were
And at the time, I knew. Because you went to Los Angeles, as you said, you went to Venice Beach, you went to Gold's Gym. Yeah. You even ran into Arnold one time. Unfortunately, you get a chance to talk to him.
We were
bumped into each
other. You bumped into him and he was working out right behind you. He was doing like
out there. So when I went there, and I'm like, okay, I look even good here. I'm not saying I look the best here, obviously. All these pro bodybuilders are working out there, but I hold my own.
Because the Gold's Gym is the mecca of bodybuilding. And every single person is jacked.
I look good here and I'm confident here, like at that point. And everyone, like for years, they were telling me to go on stage.
I remember as your girlfriend at the time, I was so excited and proud to be like walking around with you. And it felt so, at that point, I had done my own personal transformation, so I looked pretty good for what I used to look as well. So I had a shape on me, but it felt really good to be getting so much attention walking around with you.
Yeah, for sure. No, you look great as well because, as you said, you went through that transformation together.
You were like a mini celebrity.
Yeah, like
in the neighborhood.
All bodybuilders I'm sure they can confirm they live like that. They live as celebrities.
Yes.
Like you get so much positive attention, even though people know you're doing some unhealthy things as well, because they know the discipline, they respect that. They respect that consistency, that extreme type of.
Yeah. It's also important to maintain that humbleness with when you're doing bodybuilding. I think I wanted to bring that up here because I feel like that's one of the reasons that you got a lot of attention, I feel like, because not only you looked great, but you also had that humbleness, and people, when people approach you, you were
I wasn't
just very
cocky
nice.
about it at all, because I know how long it took, and I just I know I wasn't necessarily good at this or something, like, so like I was very humble about it. I've definitely felt better too, because I was doing healthy. I wasn't taking pre-workout supplements, like, like
You were being a lot more
I was
clean at
cleaner.
that point.
Like my cycles were proper.
You weren't taking tren at that
No, I would
point.
go off cycle properly, come back. I was doing everything like a pro bodybuilder.
But you were taking GH at some point as well.
Yeah,
right?
like towards the end, like that was also a big factor, like how I kind of transformed like again, because like you take GH now, like you get a different look. It's not like if you live that life 100%, then it'll make a difference. If you go take GH right now, nothing is gonna happen.
Oh, 100%, I agree.
But
and there's so many of your
I
friends
just
that
kept
took
adding things in, as you kind of go towards that pro bodybuilding status. Like you start doing more and more, eating more. Even training changes completely. Like how I was training towards the end, how much I was pushing. Like I was nervous before every workout, because I'm like, I'm not going here to like just have fun with this.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that, because I was so close to you. I would witness that, and I hear other bodybuilders talking about that. It takes a lot of planning. You're just so busy with this bodybuilding activity that you are doing every single day, that it takes so much of your day to focus mentally to go there. You can't really be having fun or doing other things. Gym is not like an activity. It's something you plan your whole entire day around, right?
No, absolutely. It took everything out of me. Just thinking, when am I gonna work out? Like I'm gonna do a crazy leg workout. I can't just go anytime.
And I want to mention, and I also want to mention just very quickly that you were also training to be a professional trader. At this point, you were a very good trader. So,
I was
your
working.
job, daytime, was very mentally.
Yeah, so like I had to balance that as well, because like as you said, I was trading, like I was at the time, was basically a professional options trader. So like balancing that was also very difficult, and so I was looking like that, and I was happy, and I could see, I'm like, okay, like I continue this 2 more years, like I can compete legitimately. I could compete at the time, even get a pro status properly, probably, like not as like in the open bodybuilding category, but definitely in classic physique or physique.
What did you think was stopping you from?
Physique category, because I knew, I'm like, at that time, because I'm like, if I want to look like a pro open bodybuilder who wins pro shows, I can. Because I have and the knowledge took me a long time. It's not a joke. Like it's not something you can figure out in a few months. It's a lot of work to learn that mastery of this craft, basically.
To learn it and to figure out your own body
Your
and
own
applying
body,
it and see what
apply it,
works.
be healthy. Like you can't just be organized. So what was stopping me was kind of going back to that biking incident that I broke my leg. I wasn't able to, like, mentally I was pushing like certain exercise. I would push as heavy as possible, like lower reps, like a pro bodybuilder, like training for size. But I knew in my body there was something wrong. Like my left side felt strange, like I just eventually I couldn't perform. Like my left side got so bad I couldn't do squats anymore. So I always had to do like hack squats, and I also had to find machines, leg presses. I couldn't do bench press anymore. You know, as I was getting bigger, because I had underlying physical issues, imbalances, mobility issues, flexibility issues, and I kept ignoring these. And you, on top, you're gaining more and more muscle, so they're coming on the surface again. I'm like, if I want to go like make that extra kind of step and look like a big pro bodybuilder, I can't have these issues.
So basically, from what I understand, is that you had a lot of misalignments and not flexibility issues,
I
which
didn't know what it was. It was mainly like, as I said, the left side was significantly weaker.
so is that why you stopped pursuing to get better? What was your plan at that point?
At the time, like I wanted to, I was having different goals. Like I wanted to get healthier and stuff as well. So COVID came, and that was a good opportunity for me because I couldn't go to the gym. I'm like, okay, perfect. Because I always like to find the motivation. I'm like, okay, perfect. Like this is my opportunity to work out at home, do a lot of body weight. Now I'm gonna focus on stretching, mobility. I'm gonna figure out what's going on with my left side, my shoulder, my ankle, my wrist. I got a lot of issues. My whole goal was to address these issues and kind of get back on the horse again and chase that bodybuilding. Like my goal was to continue my bodybuilding journey until I was 40 and then quit. That's what my goal as a young kid or young guy. But as I kind of got into that lifestyle of doing more healthier things now, me trying to address my digestion was terrible at the time. Eating like 6,000 calories a day for a few years is terrible. My digestion, it's so inflamed.
I think that's when you started actually looking into health, because you were so focused on bodybuilding and reaching your goal that you forgot about like how the body works and what your body actually needs. You need rest, you need
So like during
vitamins,
COVID,
nutrition.
this was my whole new thing now. Watching videos of how to fix your digestion, like, so I was really fascinated into that, like I had a different routine. And at the time, because it's COVID, I couldn't go to the gym. I came off the steroids properly, and I was still maintaining my size surprisingly because I was working out and eating 6 meals, but um, but I wasn't like taking steroids or anything. I wasn't following that lifestyle. I was just focusing on this, and I realized like the more and more I got into it, I'm like, there's so much to address. Like I have so many issues that I've developed over the years that I've just kept ignoring, like physically, like, and also internally, and also like spiritually, just ignoring everything, basically. So just my whole life changed. Initially my plan wasn't to go this route. I love, even to this date, I still follow bodybuilding. Like I respect bodybuilders. I may not kind of endorse like some of the things they do, but I respect them. I did that. That lifestyle changed my life. So how can I have to? I don't have anything to say against it. There are things you need to definitely be informed about. You need to make proper decisions. But as a whole, I have nothing to say against it. As I got into this whole lifestyle, I'm like, okay, I'm eating less now. It feels better. I'm trying to fix my digestion. Now I'm starting fasting. Maybe once a week I can try to fast just so I can digest better. But then I'm like, oh, how great this feels. I never knew this is a whole different world. Like fasting, paying attention to what you eat. Like chicken and rice is not the only possible thing to eat. Like you can eat cod, you can eat salmon, you can make a salad, you can make some beans, you can do this, you can take probiotics, you can take this supplement, turmeric, like you can help your inflammation. I'm like, this is a whole new world. And me being me, like this whole new thing opened up. Like I'm like, okay, like I like this, I can pursue this. So I kind of got down, and I knew I'm like, until you fix these things, especially my physical thing, like my left side, I'm like, I can't go back to that. Like chasing size, like a pro bodybuilder. And I just stayed in this for so long, like my life got changed completely. Just me being interested in
Health.
improving my breathing, like I did Wim Hof, like cold therapy stuff for a while. Like in Canada, like I didn't wear a jacket for a couple of years, just go out in winter, like take cold showers, do that, like eventually coming across yoga and like Sadhguru and like meditation and things like that. And then, not to like, just to mention, like I'm still body, like I'm going to the gym. Yeah, I'm not living that lifestyle, but as I said, I have nothing but respect for this. Like I love doing this. I go to the gym, I work out, but I'm just not doing that.
It's interesting that you had to mention that, because I feel like a lot of people around us, they just treat you like you're sad and you're not going to the gym, although you are going to the gym.
Yeah,
you're
I'm
working
much
out a
happier.
lot harder and you're much happier person, but because you don't have the size, they think that you're not working out or you're not doing well.
Great even in the mirror. If I'm looking at myself, I love the way I look. Yeah, I'm not getting that reaction anymore from people. You're not walking around 240 pounds like shredded, like everyone looking at you. You look like I look like a normal guy. I'm not getting that response, but I don't mind it because I feel great. I enjoy my lifestyle. I enjoy training. I realize I love doing all these stuff. I'm gonna do what I love. Just get rid of the unhealthy part.
Yeah, as kids say nowadays, I love that for you. Yeah, so I feel like now that I want to take you to your transition to becoming vegan, and I know you experimented with health, intermittent fasting, you watched a lot of videos, and you did a lot of research on how to do that transition. Did it just go from eating meat right away to veganism, or did you do a couple of things in between?
So basically, no, like first, well, I was fasting. So I was just trying to eat less to see how that works. And I'm like, that's one of the things that significantly improved my digestion health. So I feel like I ate so much for so long. And then playing around with the sources of protein, maybe I can incorporate more fish now.
So you
I
did
started eating more
pescatarian.
fish. Even for a while, I just ate fish. I would just eat cod, salmon, sometimes shrimp, just eggs also. That's what I wasn't eating like chicken or beef anymore. I was just wanted to experiment with that. Like having a very low inflammatory diet,
Exactly.
because you eat salmon, salmon is not really inflammatory, like still has a lot of omega-3, like eating cod, same thing. Like it's easier on your system, say the least, than
100%.
like chicken.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing that, and then again, another documentary, kind of like when I was young, I watched that Bigger, Faster, Stronger documentary. I watched that Arnold documentary, Game Changer. I watched that documentary. Yeah, there were a lot of controversy around it. How maybe they're kind of misinforming or whatever. I don't want to get into that. But they for sure showed me it's possible. They're athletes, they're vegan. And I'm like, it made me question things. I'm like, wow. And I don't care about the research. I'm going to go through it like a nerd, but I need to experiment on my own to see what they're talking about. And I remember one time we watched that documentary. I'm like, okay, we'll try one vegan meal. And it's so strange. I'm like, so this meal, we're not going to eat any beef? Or
I remember we hated tofu.
it's so strange.
It was very strange because at that point you were eating a lot of fish, but I was still eating meat and chicken, and you would sometimes eat with me, but it wasn't like you were just mainly just having fish, I think. And we tried tofu, we hated it. We tried beans, and I think we tried the worst type of bean. It was black beans and kidney beans. We didn't soak it, we didn't sprout it, we just cooked it, and we hated it. It was so bloating, and we're like, oh, we're not gonna do this again. And we went back to eating.
I kept thinking, like, in terms of like, I was eating 400 grams of protein. how am I gonna do that eating vegan? Like if I do that, I'm gonna die. Like eating like pounds of beans or something. Like how am I gonna, or eating so much tofu? Like it's scary. So that didn't make me like want to become vegan or something. Because as I said, I was healthy. I was fasting. I was more interested in that aspect, to eat less, intermittent fasting. As I got into more yoga, like yoga in its absolute like classical form. I'm not talking about yoga like a yoga studio, like doing physical yoga, doing yoga as a whole science, like a very vast, much more vast than bodybuilding. And then this whole new world opened up again, you know, which it's definitely, that's for another video.
Oh, yeah.
That's for another video. But then that I became vegan and I felt great. Like the digestion went from improving to finally being fully fixed. I feeling great in my now when I see I'm getting even stronger at the gym. I'm performing better. There's nothing wrong. I feel great, and I never liked meat to begin with.
And I remember at that time I was very skeptical, so I sent you to get blood checked, and we wrote down your calories, and we tried to figure out that if you're missing any nutrients, and you weren't. And we became so happy, and I feel like I was just kind of more opening up to it, and you got me trying maybe like once a day a vegan food, and it was just so alien to me. I'm like, how is that gonna work? And then and you asked me to pay attention to the feeling of how I felt versus how I was used to. So paying attention to the feeling, I think, was basically becoming more conscious of it, which what yoga teaches you essentially. You become more conscious of your feelings and what you put in your mouth specifically. And that's, I think, how we made the transition to becoming vegan. And I'm not vegan, I'm vegetarian. I still eat eggs. So I should mention that, but I love my eggs in the morning. Don't judge me. But it doesn't make me feel bad, and I like having it for now.
Sure. That's so. It depends on your goal. Like even if you want to now become a proper bodybuilder, probably not, becoming vegan may not be the best idea, because it'll complicate your kind of your macronutrient intake and stuff like that. But for my goal right now, like, because eating vegan food, like, it makes you feel a certain way, like inside, and you're much calmer, you feel less tension, you have no inflammation in your body, you know, like for my goals right now is the right diet. But again, I have nothing against eating meat. I'm all about eating properly. Like if you're eating proper amount, proper good quality, yeah, you can feel great eating fish, you can feel great eating steak, you know, like you can do it. It really depends what you're looking for.
It's very important. It's very nice to say that, because I feel like a lot of people that promote veganism and vegetarianism are people who are just so emotional about the subject, and they promote it as if, oh, if you're eating meat, you're not a good person, or you know, it depends on your goal.
Yeah, not at all. Like you can be healthy. Like I would love to talk about that in the future, how you can be healthy eating meat, eating fish, eating meat, and there are different ways to go about it. It's just different lifestyles. They're just different.
But this is the happiest I've seen you in the past.
Yeah, 100%.
11 years.
As I said, my focus right now is how I feel, how I perform, you know. This is not the way I look necessarily in terms of like muscle size. So it works for me.
My last question for you is that how did it feel to say goodbye to that body and kind of transitioning? Because when you started intermittent fasting, you fully knew that you were going to lose weight, and you made a conscious decision from what I remember. How did it feel to be doing that?
To be honest, like it just came really natural, because like I felt like I became very meditative because I wasn't getting that response from people. So I stopped thinking about what people think naturally.
Wow.
I went inside.
That's amazing.
I'm going out. I don't worry about everyone looking at me. And that's good and bad. Like you don't enjoy it all the time. Going on a subway, everyone looking at me. Like, do I really want that all the time? Letting it go wasn't hard because I was still doing it. That's just advice I have. If someone wants to do this, you got to do what you love still. If I stop going to the gym, yeah, that probably would make me think twice about it. But I still live that life. I feel great about the decision of, you know, going vegan and kind of changing that.
I love that. And you never know, you may become a carnivore in a few years, right?
Yeah, like, for sure. Like, I can't imagine myself, but I'm not religious about anything.
Yeah, that I think that's the most important thing. And what I admire about you as well is that you're always open to experimenting and not having a certain or having ego about a way of life that you're doing at the moment. You're always able to shift in between. So that's something I admire about you. Thank you so much. So I want to kind of ask you some one-word questions, if you could just answer them in one word. What is one thing that you loved about bodybuilding in one word?
Change.
What is one thing you hated?
I'm gonna find the right word. I know what I want to say, but I want to find the right word for it.
You could do 2 words.
Obligation, but I want to like explain what I mean by it. I just felt so obligated. Like you don't have a choice because the discipline becomes natural and it turns into obligation. I didn't like that about it.
I love that. Describe food in one word.
Nourishment,
Success.
life,
Love.
everything.
Thank you so much for doing this podcast with me, Alie
Thank
Shabani.
you.
Hope to have you again.
Thank you. Honestly, I was so happy to do this because, as I said, I had to think about my whole life. So it was very almost a spiritual experience. And just the first time being in front of a camera, talking to your audience. It's a great honor. I would love to do this again. And thanks for having me.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.